Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the haunting stories of 19 Black R&B legends whose lives ended in mysterious and often chilling ways. Behind the glamour and the music lies a dark truth most people would rather ignore. Time after time, some of the most iconic Black artists in history met their end under circumstances so strange, they still defy belief. These weren't quiet passings from age or illness. No, these stars were taken at the height of their fame, their journeys cut short in ways that continue to cast long shadows of doubt. Accidents, murders, revenge, every official story is filled with holes, raising far more questions than answers. It sounds unbelievable, but together, we're going to pull back the curtain. Tonight, I'll uncover long-forgotten secrets and dig into the eerie details behind these untimely and unsettling final moments. Prepare yourself. The truth is far more unsettling than the legends ever revealed. Prince's final moments remain one of the most chilling mysteries in music history. The world froze in disbelief on the morning of April 21, 2016, when the legendary artist was found unresponsive inside an elevator at his Paisley Park estate. The man who reinvented funk, rock, and pop, who gave us anthems that shaped generations, was suddenly gone. Emergency responders fought to bring him back, but the spark that electrified the world had already faded. Prince, the visionary performer, master producer, fearless style icon, and boundary-shattering figure, had taken his final bow. The official cause, a fentanyl overdose. A drug so powerful it's normally used for late-stage cancer patients. But what deepened the heartbreak was the mystery surrounding it. Prince had no known opioid addiction, yet his body held a level of fentanyl far beyond anything survivable. And the warnings were there. Just days earlier, he had collapsed mid-flight on his private jet, revived only by a shot of Narcan. His body was begging for attention, yet the danger went unanswered. Where did the fentanyl come from? Some believe Prince suffered in silence, fighting chronic pain or a hidden illness. Others point to counterfeit pills laced with deadly levels of the drug. And then came the darker whispers, claims that someone in his inner circle may have played a role, whether motivated by money, influence, or access to his legendary vault of unreleased music. Prince lived fiercely private, revealing only what he chose. And in death, he left behind more questions than answers. Was his passing a tragic accident? Or was something far more sinister at play? Even now, that elevator inside Paisley Park stands as a haunting symbol of the truth we may never know. A reminder of the genius the world lost far too soon, and the mystery that continues to echo long after his final note. Donny Hathaway. Donny Hathaway's life ended with the same haunting mystery that lived inside his music. On the cold night of January 13, 1979, the world lost one of soul music's purest storytellers when his body was found beneath the 15th floor of New York's Essex House Hotel. It wasn't just a tragedy, it was a wound to an entire era he helped define. Hathaway wasn't merely a singer. He was an architect of emotion, a man who could break your heart and heal it again with a single trembling note. His voice shaped what soul music felt like. But that night, everything changed. Just after 10 p.m., his lifeless body was discovered on the pavement below. The details were chilling: a locked hotel door, an open window, no struggle, no witnesses. Police rushed to rule out foul play, claiming his death was tied to his long battle with mental illness. But for those who loved him, that explanation never sat right. Only hours earlier, Donny had been in the studio, laughing, energized, dreaming aloud about new music and the bright future he still believed in. Yes, he struggled with mental illness. But he was also a devoted father, a passionate creator, and a man fighting every day to stay connected to the world he loved. Suicide didn't match the Donny Hathaway they had seen that afternoon. And so the whispers began. Some believed this wasn't despair at all, but something far darker. Fans and friends questioned whether he had been silenced, his death staged to look like an accident. Rumors swirled about industry secrets, powerful enemies, and a system eager to close the case before the truth could surface. Police moved quickly, almost too quickly, ending the investigation and leaving behind a storm of doubt. But one thing is undeniable. Donny Hathaway's death stole a once-in-a-generation genius. His voice, aching, spiritual, unforgettable, still echoes with an unanswered question. Was his ending truly his choice, or was it taken from him? Marvin Gaye. His name alone still echoes through the soul of America. The man who gave us What's Going On, Let's Get It On, and Sexual Healing didn't fade into silence. His voice was stolen in the most heartbreaking way imaginable, by a bullet fired from his own father's gun. Behind those velvet vocals lived a man battling storms the world never fully saw: inner turmoil, suffocating pressure, childhood wounds that never healed, and a household filled with conflict and fear. On April 1, 1984, just one day before his 45th birthday, all those demons collided. At 12:38 p.m., inside his Los Angeles home, Marvin Gaye was shot twice in the chest by his father. Marvin Gaye Sr., the man who brought him into the world, ended his life. Their argument that morning wasn't new. It was the breaking point of decades of tension. Marvin had finally stood up to his father for the years of cruelty inflicted on his mother, the woman who had survived a lifetime of silent suffering. Voices rose, tempers flared, and then came an eerie quiet. His father walked away, only to return moments later with the very gun Marvin had once gifted him for protection. The shots weren't fired in the heat of impulsive rage. There was a pause, and then cold, deliberate destruction. Yet somehow, police accepted Marvin Sr.'s claim of self-defense, despite Marvin being unarmed, despite the time taken to retrieve the gun. A fractured family history, financial strain, decades of resentment, all ignored. The investigation barely scratched the truth. Justice never arrived. Friends whispered about depression, guilt, and the emotional war Marvin had carried for years. Others believed his father's jealousy and bitterness had finally reached a deadly boil. Whatever the truth, Marvin's death exposed one of the most tragic and toxic father-son relationships in music history. And the final blow? Marvin Gaye Sr. never spent a single day in prison. Probation. That was the price for killing a legend. 40 years later, the wound hasn't healed. Marvin Gaye wasn't just another artist. He was the heartbeat of soul, a voice that transformed pain into poetry. His death left the world mourning not only the loss of a genius, but the loss of justice that never came. Christopher George Lat or Wallace, known to the world as the Notorious B.I., was more than a rapper. He was a movement, a voice that thundered through Brooklyn's concrete streets, turning struggle into poetry and pain into power. But on one unforgettable night in Los Angeles, March 9, 1997, that legendary voice was silenced in a burst of violence that still haunts hip-hop today. Just after 12:45 a.m., Biggie stepped out of the Peterson Automotive Museum after a lively party filled with music, laughter, and promise. He climbed into a black SUV with his security team, the vibes still electric, the night still alive. But in the blink of an eye, everything shifted. A dark sedan eased up beside his vehicle. No warning, no time to react. Just the deafening crack of gunfire splitting the stillness of the night. Bullets tore through the SUV. Chaos exploded. His bodyguards sped toward the nearest hospital, doing everything they could to save him, but fate had already turned its back. At 1:15 a.m., the Notorious B.I., a man who shaped an entire era, was pronounced dead. What makes his murder even more chilling is where it happened, on a busy Los Angeles street, packed with witnesses, yet no one ever stepped forward. Not one voice. Not one truth. And so the theories erupted. Was it the final act of the East Coast-West Coast rivalry? Did dirty cops hide their involvement? Was it the ruthless hand of a gang like the Crips? For decades, investigators chased leads that dissolved into thin air. Files went missing. Testimonies vanished. And every answer led to more shadows. Biggie's death wasn't just a tragedy, it became hip-hop's darkest, most unsolved mystery. A wound that refuses to heal, a silence that no beat can drown out. Yet his legacy lives on, echoing through every verse, every rhythm, every artist he inspired. But the one question still chills the world to this day. Who pulled the trigger, and why? Eazy. The mystery surrounding Eazy-E's death still sends shockwaves through the world of hip-hop. As a founding force behind NWA, he didn't just make music, he changed the culture. But the way his life ended left far more questions than answers. In February 1995, Eazy suddenly began struggling to breathe. Doctors dismissed it as a simple cough, something harmless. But within days, everything spiraled. Test results revealed a truth no one expected. He had HIV. The hip-hop community was stunned. Just a few weeks later, on March 26, 1995, Eazy was gone. What made his passing even more unsettling was how out of place the diagnosis seemed. He wasn't known for intravenous drug use. Friends and family insisted he lived far more carefully than the rumors ever suggested. And that's when the whispers began. Was it really natural? Or was someone behind it? Some pointed to powerful enemies, old feuds with Suge Knight, bitter tensions with Dr. Dre, and the dangerous politics of the music industry. The speed of his decline only deepened the suspicion. It was too fast, too sudden, too convenient. To this day, no hard evidence has emerged, but the cloud of conspiracy surrounding Eazy's final weeks refuses to fade. Fans around the world still believe the truth about his death didn't die with him. Maybe it wasn't just a tragedy. Maybe it was a setup. Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur was more than a rapper. He was a revolutionary voice, bold, brilliant, and unafraid to speak truth to power. But the world lost him long before his time. At just 25, the prophet of hip-hop was silenced in a burst of violence that still haunts music history. On the night of September 7, 1996, Tupac and Suge Knight rolled through the bright lights of the Las Vegas Strip in their black BMW. It should have been an ordinary ride back to their hotel. Instead, fate was waiting in the dark. A white Cadillac pulled up beside them. In seconds, the night exploded. 13 shots tore through the air. Tupac was struck again and again. Bleeding, struggling, fighting through pain, he tried to hold on as chaos swallowed the street. At the hospital, doctors worked relentlessly. Multiple surgeries, machines keeping hope alive. But the damage was too deep, too brutal. After 6 agonizing days in intensive care, Tupac Shakur took his last breath on September 13, 1996. His death wasn't just a tragedy for hip-hop. It was a wound felt across an entire generation. And the questions surrounding that night have never faded. Was it industry beef? Gang retaliation? Or something darker, something people were never meant to uncover? Decades later, the truth remains tangled in mystery. What endures is Tupac's voice, raw, fearless, immortal, and the sorrow of knowing the story he was meant to finish will forever remain unwritten. Merlin Santana. His name once lit up the screen with promise, charm, and raw talent, but his death sent a cold shockwave through Hollywood that still lingers today. Merlin wasn't just a rising star, he was on the verge of something bigger, a future that felt almost guaranteed. But on the night of November 9, 2002, everything changed in the blink of an eye. Sitting in his car on a quiet Los Angeles street, Merlin was simply enjoying a peaceful moment, laughing, talking, living, beside a close friend. Then, out of the darkness, a group of young men approached. One of them, Damon Andrew Gates, raised a gun and pulled the trigger. In seconds, the night exploded into horror. Bullets tore through the car. Merlin collapsed, fatally wounded. His friend survived, forced to witness the unthinkable, powerless to stop it. When police arrived, there were no signs of an argument. No struggle. No warning. Why would anyone target a young actor with such a bright future? The randomness of the violence stunned investigators and devastated the public. Rumors swirled. Was it mistaken identity? A setup? Something deeper and darker? To this day, the truth remains clouded, hanging over his legacy like a chilling shadow. Merlin Santana was just 26 years old. A life full of talent, ambition, and possibility, cut short by bullets that should never have been fired. What he left behind wasn't just grief, but a haunting question that Hollywood still can't answer. Why him? Sean Taylor. His name still echoes through the NFL like a brilliant light that was extinguished far too soon. On November 27, 2007, the world awoke to unthinkable news, the death of Sean Taylor, a rising superstar whose best years were still ahead of him. He was only 24. That night inside his Miami home, quiet turned to chaos. At 1:45 a.m., four intruders broke in. Taylor, asleep beside his girlfriend and baby daughter, jolted awake at the sound of danger. Without a second thought, he did what came naturally. He moved to shield the people he loved. But in a single, devastating moment, everything changed. One gunshot from the attackers tore through the darkness and struck him down. He collapsed instantly, his girlfriend frozen in horror as the father of her child fought for breath. Rushed to the hospital, Sean battled for his life with the same determination he showed on the field. But the blood loss was too severe. By 3:30 a.m., the fight was over. A young legend was gone. The NFL mourned a hero, yet questions only multiplied. Why a break-in where nothing was stolen? Police arrested four suspects, but their true motives remain clouded with doubt, rumors, and unanswered whispers. To this day, the senseless murder of Sean Taylor stands as one of football's darkest, most haunting tragedies, a reminder that even the brightest stars can be taken in a single, unforgiving night. Aaliyah. Her name alone still echoes with grace, beauty, and a voice that felt like velvet on the soul. When she died, the shock rippled across the world, silencing one of R&B's brightest stars long before her story was meant to end. Known for her angelic vocals and unforgettable hits, she wasn't just a singer. She was a cultural blueprint. Aaliyah left fingerprints on an entire generation. August 25, 2001. Fresh off a major video shoot in the Bahamas, Aaliyah boarded a small Cessna 402B. It was supposed to be nothing more than a quick routine flight back to the US. Instead, it became the darkest chapter in music history. At 6:50 p.m., the plane lifted into the sky, only to plunge back down seconds later, erupting in a fireball that claimed all 9 lives on board. No chance for escape. No survivors. Just devastation. Witnesses described a horrifying scene, twisted metal scattered across the runway, thick smoke rising into the evening sky, and silence where laughter and music had filled the air just moments before. Aaliyah was only 22, standing at the very peak of her career, with the world finally recognizing the greatness she had always possessed. The investigation uncovered details that felt almost impossible to accept. The plane was more than 700 pounds overweight. The pilot wasn't licensed to fly. And toxicology reports showed cocaine and alcohol in his system. How could such a dangerous flight ever be cleared? Why was Aaliyah rushed onto that plane? These questions sparked conspiracy theories, whispers of sabotage, negligence, even darker forces at play. But none of it was ever proven. The truth died with her. What remains is the heartbreak. Aaliyah's life ended in flames and wreckage, but her music, her style, her grace, and her quiet power still live on. She remains eternal, an angel of R&B whose loss still feels like an open wound, and whose future we can only imagine. Her death wasn't just a tragedy. It was, and still is, one of the most unsettling mysteries in music history. Lisa Lopez's story didn't end with music or fame. It ended in a chilling mystery that still haunts fans to this day. On April 25, 2002, in Honduras, the TLC icon was driving a black SUV packed with 7 close friends and family. But that entire day, Lisa felt something was wrong. She told those around her that she felt watched, followed, as if a shadow was moving just behind her. Around 5:30 p.m., as the SUV sped down a quiet road near La Ceiba, everything changed in an instant. The vehicle suddenly swerved, veered off the highway, and plunged into a deep ravine. The crash was brutal, metal twisting, glass exploding, the peaceful countryside shattered by chaos. Lisa was thrown from the vehicle, fatally injured on impact. Every other passenger survived, left shaking and horrified as they saw her motionless body lying in the dust. The official police report blamed speed and loss of control. But for those who loved her, that explanation felt painfully incomplete. Why was Lisa the only one who died? Why did she speak of premonitions of being followed only hours before the crash? Was it truly an accident, or something far more disturbing? Decades later, her death remains wrapped in unanswered questions, strange coincidences, and theories that refuse to fade. Lisa "Left Eye" Lopez didn't just leave behind groundbreaking music, she left behind a haunting mystery that still whispers through time, refusing to let her legacy rest. Freaky Ta. The tragic, untimely death of Lost Boys rapper Freaky Ta still sends a chill through hip-hop history. In the 1990s, he was a vibrant spark in the group, a rising star with a magnetic energy that promised a long, unstoppable career. But all of that promise was stolen in one senseless moment of violence. On the night of March 28, 1999, after celebrating a close friend's birthday, Freaky Ta stepped outside carefree, unaware that danger was waiting in the darkness. He had no reason to look over his shoulder. He never saw the threat coming. From the shadows, a man approached. A single gunshot split the night. The bullet struck Ta in the head, dropping him instantly. In just one heartbeat, a brilliant future vanished. The shooter disappeared almost as quickly as he arrived. No weapon left behind, no clear witnesses, no solid leads. Detectives chased rumors instead of evidence, and motives swirled in speculation. Some whispered it was gang-related. Others claimed it grew from tensions inside the music industry. But the truth? Still buried. What remains is the loss. Freaky Ta was more than a rapper. He was a voice of his generation, a spirit who made the streets feel alive. And decades later, his murder remains hauntingly unsolved, a chilling reminder of how fast greatness can be silenced, and how deep the wound can cut when justice never comes. Jam Master Jay. A legend silenced in the unlikeliest way. October 30th, 2002 should have been just another night inside Jam Master Jay's Queen studio, the creative sanctuary where the iconic DJ, the heartbeat of Run DMC, sculpted the sound of hip-hop itself. The vibe was easy. The beats were smooth. Friends laughed, music echoed, and Jay moved through the room with his usual calm confidence. But in one breath, everything shattered. Around 7:30 p.m., two unfamiliar men walked in. Nothing seemed off until the gunfire. A single shot cracked through the studio, echoing like a nightmare. In seconds, Jam Master Jay collapsed, his life stolen by a bullet that silenced one of hip-hop's most revolutionary voices. The laughter vanished. Panic swallowed the room. Witnesses froze as the gunman slipped back into the night as quickly and quietly as he came. Police launched a massive investigation, chasing every rumor, street beef, underworld ties, industry grudges. But none of it added up. No motive. No answers. No justice. And that's the part that still haunts the culture. Why take the life of a man who lifted hip-hop from the streets to the world stage? More than 20 years later, the pain hasn't faded. His death remains one of hip-hop's darkest, most enduring mysteries, an open wound that refuses to heal. For the fans, for the culture, for the music, Jam Master Jay's absence is a silence we still hear every day. Al Jackson Jr., a life ended in the cruelest way, inside the very home where he should have been safest. Known as the heartbeat of Booker T and the MGs, Al wasn't just a drummer, he was the pulse of soul and R&B. His rhythm powered generations of music, giving timeless classics their fire. But one tragic night in Memphis brought that rhythm to a violent stop. It was October 1st, 1975. Fresh from a performance, Al returned home expecting quiet and comfort. Instead, he stepped into a house that felt wrong. The lights were on. A door hung slightly open. A tension in the air that didn't belong. And then, terror from the shadows. A gunman emerged without a word. 5 shots fired in brutal, rapid succession. No warning. No chance to fight back. Al collapsed on his own kitchen floor. In another room, his wife was found tied up, trembling, claiming she couldn't identify the attacker. Strangely, nothing was stolen. No evidence was left behind. No signs of a struggle. Police ruled it a robbery, but almost no one believed that story. Because who fires 5 cold, calculated bullets into an unarmed man and walks away empty-handed? To many, it felt like an execution. A hit. Rumors spread through the music world like wildfire. Some whispered that Al was drowning in debt. Others said he'd crossed powerful people in the industry, people you didn't say no to. And Memphis at the time was a city simmering with violence, corruption, and quiet power struggles. One wrong move could get you killed. The investigation was shockingly sloppy. Key clues ignored. His wife never fully questioned. Leads left to rot. It was as if someone wanted the truth buried. And buried it stayed. To this day, the murder of Al Jackson Jr., one of the greatest drummers in American music, remains unsolved. His rhythm stolen, his legacy forever shadowed by the silence of a mystery that still haunts Memphis. Phyllis Hyman. The tragic, mysterious end of one of the greatest jazz and R&B vocalists of her generation still haunts Hollywood and the music world today. With a voice that was both thunderous and heartbreakingly tender, Phyllis didn't just sing, she commanded a room. She was elegance, fire, vulnerability, and power wrapped into one unforgettable presence. Audiences didn't just hear her, they felt her. But on the afternoon of June 30th, 1995, just hours before the Apollo Theater was set to welcome her for a long-awaited, triumphant performance, everything collapsed. Friends found Phyllis unconscious in her New York apartment, an empty bottle of sedatives beside her. Though paramedics rushed her to the hospital, she had been gone for hours. What made it even more heartbreaking was the day she left behind. She had been laughing, celebrating her newest album, excited, truly excited, about the show she was about to give. This wasn't a woman fading into darkness. This was a woman preparing to rise. A short note was found, apologizing to loved ones. But to many who saw her that very same day, radiant, hopeful, full of life, the note didn't fit. It felt wrong. It felt scripted. And behind the glamour, Phyllis had shared her deepest fears, crushing debts, suffocating contracts, endless demands, and the loneliness of an industry that takes more than it ever gives back. She felt trapped, squeezed, and pushed far beyond what even a strong soul like hers could endure. And then came the whispers. That the note wasn't hers. That she was drugged. That her death was staged and made to look like a suicide. Yet no serious investigation followed. No tapes were pulled. No witnesses were pressed. The case was quietly closed, leaving a void as chilling as her sudden exit. And so, the curtain fell on Phyllis Hyman, not with the thunderous applause she deserved, but with a cloud of unanswered questions that still echo behind the stage lights. Some believe the truth died with her. Others think darker secrets remain buried in the shadows. But one thing is certain, the world lost a voice it can never replace. Sam Cooke wasn't just the king of soul, he was the soundtrack of an entire movement. His velvet-smooth voice carried the fire of a generation fighting for justice. Offstage, he was fearless, independent, and unapologetically in control of his art, refusing to bow to the gatekeepers who profited off black talent. But brilliance like his rarely comes without a dangerous price. Around 3 a.m. on December 11, 1964, Sam Cooke checked into a modest Los Angeles motel with a young woman named Elisa Boyer. Just hours earlier, he had been untouchable, on top of the world, at the height of his fame. Yet inside that cheap room, something exploded into chaos. Boyer later claimed Cooke became aggressive and she ran for her life. What happened next became one of the most shocking moments in music history. Half naked and furious, Cooke burst into the motel office demanding answers. Behind the counter stood the manager, Bertha Franklin. Within seconds, a gunshot echoed through the night. Cooke fell to the ground, one bullet through his chest. And just like that, a legend was gone. Police ruled it a justifiable homicide almost immediately. But for someone of Cooke's power and influence, the verdict felt far too neat. His body showed bruises and injuries that didn't match the story. Rumors of an ambush swirled. Some whispered that Elisa Boyer wasn't a random companion at all, but a pawn in a bigger scheme. Why was one of America's most influential black entertainers in a rundown motel to begin with? How could a man so beloved, so protected, die in such a cheap, quiet corner of Los Angeles? Fans and investigators alike wondered if this was really self-defense or an execution disguised as one. At the time, Cooke was doing something unheard of, building his own record label, demanding ownership, and speaking boldly about civil rights. He was taking power in an industry controlled almost entirely by white executives. Was he silenced not by chance, but by design? The case closed quickly, but the questions never did. More than 60 years later, the truth is still tangled in shadows. Sam Cooke's voice lives on, timeless and eternal, but the mystery of his death lingers like an unfinished song, a final verse the world may never hear. Michael Jackson. The day Michael Jackson collapsed, the world stopped breathing. His death wasn't just heartbreaking, it was shrouded in shadows and unanswered questions. To millions, he wasn't just the king of pop. He was a once-in-a-century force who broke every rule, every record, and every boundary of fame. A phenomenon whose voice, moves, and magic defined generations. Yet on what should have been an ordinary morning, his extraordinary life came crashing to a cruel end. On June 25, 2009, as Michael prepared for his triumphant return with the long-awaited This Is It tour, he was discovered unresponsive inside his Los Angeles mansion. By 2:26 p.m., the impossible became real. Michael Jackson was gone. Standing beside him that day was his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, the man who admitted to injecting Michael with propofol, a hospital-grade anesthetic never meant for home use. Combined with multiple sedatives, the cocktail silenced the heartbeat that had once electrified the planet. Murray was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter, yet the deeper truth remains tangled in mystery. Because the questions never stopped. Was Murray the true villain, or someone following orders in a darker, hidden operation? Why was the world's most iconic entertainer being knocked unconscious night after night without monitors, without support staff, without even the minimum safety precautions? And why was Michael's fragile health entrusted to one doctor whose qualifications were already under fire? The deeper investigators dug, the more it reeked of a cover-up. But one truth is undeniable. Michael Jackson died caught in the gears of a machine that valued profit above people. Behind the glittering stages and roaring crowds was a man crushed by debt, exploited by powerful handlers, and pushed to the brink by corporations who viewed him not as a human being, but as the biggest financial engine they had ever seen. For AEG Live and the tour's organizers, every show meant millions. Every rehearsal, every breath, every heartbeat was money on the line. And in the end, that relentless pressure, that hunger to squeeze one more performance from a man already breaking, may have cost Michael Jackson everything. Cornell Gunter, the legendary voice behind the coasters, met an end as tragic as it was mysterious, lost to the shadows on a quiet Las Vegas night. As the soul of the group that helped define the golden age of R&B, Gunter wasn't just another singer. He was the heartbeat of their sound, a spirit whose soaring vocals and magnetic stage presence made him unforgettable. But fame can be cruel. His life followed a familiar arc, a dazzling rise into stardom, followed by a painful descent as the spotlight slowly faded. Yet Cornell never stopped dreaming. Even in tougher years, he carried himself with the dignity of a seasoned showman, believing that the next big moment was still within reach. That hope shattered on February 26, 1990. Around 10 p.m., after leaving a small gathering, he drove off into the night, tired, uneasy, but still thinking about tomorrow. Somewhere along those quiet streets, he pulled his car over. Why he stopped, no one knows. What happened next changed everything. A stranger approached his window. Gunshots tore through the silence. And in an instant, Cornell Gunter's life was gone. By the time police arrived, it was too late. No cameras. No witnesses. No clear motive. Just an empty car, a lifeless legend, and 1,000 questions that would never be answered. Rumors spread like wildfire, debts, underworld connections, even whispers of a sinister music industry purge. But nothing was ever proven. What remained was a haunting truth. One of R&B's great voices died alone, his murder unsolved, his legacy forever wrapped in mystery. Cornell Gunter's story isn't just a tale of music, it's a chilling reminder that even legends can disappear into the dark without justice, without answers, and without the farewell they deserved. Whitney Houston wasn't just the queen of pop and R&B, she was a once-in-a-lifetime force of nature. A voice that didn't simply sing, but lifted souls. When she released her timeless cover of I Will Always Love You, it didn't just dominate the charts, it became a global anthem, sealing her legacy as one of the greatest vocalists to ever walk this earth. But on February 11, 2012, just hours before she was set to reclaim the Grammy stage, the unthinkable happened. Inside her suite at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, Whitney was found unconscious in her bathtub. At 3:55 p.m., despite frantic attempts to save her, the world lost a legend. The news hit like a lightning bolt. Days earlier, she had been glowing, hopeful, energized, preparing for the comeback fans had prayed for. How could someone so ready to rise be gone in an instant? The official report ruled it as drowning while unconscious, with heroin and other substances in her system. But instead of bringing closure, it opened a floodgate of suspicion. Was it a relapse, an accident, or something far more sinister? Whispers turned into theories, poisoning, betrayal, even a calculated industry takedown. Too many details felt off, too staged to ignore. Most unsettling of all were the missing 40 minutes before she died. No camera footage. No witnesses. No clear explanation. An eerie silence surrounding one of the most famous women in the world, inside a luxury hotel drenched in security. To this day, many believe Whitney wasn't just lost to addiction. They believe she was silenced, right on the edge of a triumphant return. Lamont Coleman. He was only 24, young, gifted, and climbing fast toward stardom. A voice so sharp and a talent so undeniable that hip-hop insiders already whispered his name with respect. Lamont Coleman's future seemed limitless, until the night everything changed. On February 15, 1999, Harlem was wrapped in winter silence as Coleman walked through the dim streets, unaware that fate was waiting for him in the shadows. Then it happened, swift, merciless, and unreal. Multiple gunmen emerged from the dark, unleashing a barrage of bullets. 9 shots shattered the stillness. Coleman collapsed where he stood, defenseless and alone. He was rushed to the hospital, fighting with everything he had left. But by dawn, the battle was over. Lamont Coleman was gone. Another brilliant young talent stolen long before his prime. His murder sent shockwaves through the rap world, not only for its brutality, but because justice never came. No motive, no arrests, just rumors, whispers, and theories, personal feuds, street ties, industry envy. 2 decades later, the case remains one of hip-hop's most chilling unsolved mysteries. Yet his legacy refuses to fade. Fans, friends, and fellow artists still honor the brilliance he left behind. But the truth of his death remains buried in darkness, a painful reminder of the dangers hidden behind fame's brightest lights. Were these tragedies random? Acts of desperation? Or is there something far more sinister at play? Share your thoughts below. And if you believe these stories deserve to be told, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're just getting started. There are secrets in Hollywood and the music industry that they never wanted you to know.